Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us again on Facebook Live. We hope that you had a wonderful and restful holiday weekend and that your brain is rested and prepared and ready for today's Monday Microscope Challenge. This is our first time trying to do this online as the museum has been closed once again temporarily. Normally, we would be doing these microscope type challenges inside our Touch and See lab at the museum. And so what we have for you today is Adam, our gallery programs assistant, is actually on site at the museum. He's in the office right next to the Touch and See lab, and he's going to be leading you through today's Monday Microscope Challenge. So put on your thinking caps, get your best guesses ready. We'll see what we can look at up close. Adam?
Hi there. Thanks for joining for our first Microscope Challenge. I'll kind of just walk you through how we're going to do things. So to my left here, I have a little microscope set up to my laptop. There's an item under it, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over my camera to that microscope. I'll give you guys a clue of what the item is, and then we'll give you guys a few seconds to put your guesses in the comments. After we get a few answers, I'll zoom out and get another image of the same item, and keep doing that a couple times until we get a guess in there. And then I'll reveal it at the end when you guys can ask questions. Okay, I'm gonna switch over my camera now. Okay, let me just get it in focus here. So the first clue I have for you is this organism secretes an oil called Castorium that has been used in perfumes and as a food additive. So go ahead and write any guesses you have in the comments, and we'll give you guys a few seconds to do that before I zoom out.
So Adam, while we're waiting for everyone's guesses to come in, I'm hearing some interesting sounds in the background there. Can you tell us a little bit more about what's going on in the Touch and See office today?
Yes, so off of the Touch and See room, we have my office and a couple other people's office, which is also the animal care room. So what you're hearing is some of the crickets that we use to feed to the reptiles that we have. And it's a great filler for the silence. Very appropriate. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and zoom out to the second stage here. So just give me a second while I refocus. Okay. Hopefully you guys can see that all right. Your second clue is this organism is an excellent swimmer found in ponds and lakes around Minnesota. And just some more crickets for your thinking. Any guesses, Amber?
Yeah, we've had a couple that have come in. We have a guess of maybe a clam, or we have another individual that thinks that maybe we're looking at a snake or part of a snake.
Okay, very interesting. Very interesting. Good guesses. If that's slowing down, we'll go ahead and zoom out to our final clue here. A second. And okay, so your last clue is it has a third transparent eyelid called a nictitating membrane that allows them to see underwater. And hopefully this view gives you a much clearer idea of what it is we're looking at. It is the last clue, so keep guessing in the comments.
All right, I have a couple more guesses that I'm checking out here. We also have a couple guesses of turtle or turtle shell, and we also have a guess that we might be looking at a beaver tail.
Okay.
A guess of mink also just came up.
That's a very good guess. I would not have guessed that. That's a very elusive animal, so I'm happy that you know what a mink is and what a mink looks like. If things are slowing down, I can go out to my camera and show everyone what it is.
We just had one final guess of lizard. So we've got a lot of guesses that maybe we're looking at scales for example, with a snake or a turtle or a lizard. And then also the aquatic guess of clam, and once again, either beaver tail or mink.
Okay, awesome. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what it is. Okay, so for those of you who guessed beaver, you are correct. This is a beaver pelt. And what I was showing you was the tail. And so there were a lot of really great guesses in there. I noticed a lot of animals that had scales. And the cool thing about beavers is they do have scales, but they're a little bit different than the scales that you'd find on reptiles or bird feet and other things. So what I'm going to do is I'll zoom back into it so I can show you and tell you a little bit more about them. So give me another second while I set this up. So this is one of the scales, or a few of the scales, really close up. And you'll notice that kind of spotted throughout the scales, you'll see hairs or fibers. And what these scales are is they're actually made of compressed hair, which is different from reptiles and birds who obviously don't have hair. And so, yeah, they're covered in, their body is covered in fur, but their tail is also covered in fur. It's just in a scaly form.
So Adam, I noticed that, or I remember at the very first clue, you mentioned something about Castorium. And I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit more about what beavers themselves actually use Castorium for.
Yeah, so Castorium is secreted by beavers from two sacs underneath their tail. And what they use it for is for marking territory. And they also may spread it on their fur to give it an oily, waterproof kind of layer. But it kind of smells like vanilla or leather, and so it is sometimes used in perfumes and has been used in the past as a food additive to enhance other flavors. So,
is there anything else about beaver fur that is really unique or special?
Yeah, so you might not be able to tell from here, but beavers actually have two types of fur. So there's this really soft, dense fur underneath, and that's to keep the beaver warm, because they do remain active to some extent throughout the winter. So they do have to go out into the cold water and swim around. The outer fur, which is a lot longer and stiffer, is a waterproofing layer. And so that's what they would spread that Castorium on to make themselves more aerodynamic in the water.
So I know before we were looking up close at the beaver tail. If we are to zoom out a little bit more to like the whole beaver tail and the size and shape of it, can you talk a little bit more about how that helps propel beavers or what they use it for in their natural environment? Yeah,
so as I think a lot of people know, the beaver's tail is flat and it's shaped kind of like a rudder, and they use it just like a rudder. So they're very hydrodynamic, I guess not aerodynamic is maybe what I said earlier, but very good swimmers, and they use that tail to steer themselves. And another thing they use it for is communication. So if there are a bunch of beavers swimming in a pond, one of them spots maybe a coyote or a wolf, that beaver will slap its tail on the water to kind of send a warning to others that are around that there is danger in the area.
So when we are able to be in the museum and inside the Touch and See lab, how often do you get questions about beavers? Is it one of the favorite animals in Minnesota?
Yeah, I would say yes. I get more questions about it up at the Mammoth because of the giant beaver that we have up there, but definitely still get some in Touch and See when we have the pelt out. So, and people know what it is. It's very familiar. So lots of good stuff.
I think you'll be happy to know that one of the correct guesses actually came from the University of Minnesota Morris Biology Department. So they are on their game this morning with the beaver tails. When we think a little bit about people who study these types of animals, and I know that you you are obviously a pretty recent graduate of the University of Minnesota. Can you talk a little bit more about like the types of animals that you have studied and whether or not beavers were a part of that?
Well, I haven't studied beavers specifically. I did work in a cricket lab and a frog lab, and we studied the vocal communication of the frogs, so the preferences of the females and the different frequencies and such of the male frogs that were out in the ponds, but didn't see any beavers while we were out there.
Well, I'm sad to hear that you didn't see any beavers out in the wild, but I always think it's good for everyone to see and understand all of the really cool research and work that's being done to study all of the various animals throughout the state of Minnesota. Mm-hmm. I'm wondering if before we sign off today, if you can go ahead and just put it under the microscope one last time for individuals that might be joining us late. And we can kind of just take a look at it as we answer our last question that just came in. And Terry is actually wondering a little bit more about beavers in terms of how much they weigh and also what they might eat.
Okay. So there should be, that's like the middle view I gave you guys. How much beavers weigh? I'd have to look into that. The one stat that I can give you, I think, is that the heaviest one found was like 80 pounds. Don't quote me on that. I'm not positive. But they are herbivorous, so they eat plants. They do eat a lot of wood, which is not a common thing in the animal kingdom. A lot of animals can't digest lignin, which is a main component of wood. And so beavers, as you probably know, will chew down trees, but while they're chewing down the trees to make their lodges and dams, they also can eat the wood that is produced by that as well.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for giving us one last parting shot there of the microscopic view of the beaver's tail. I want to thank everyone for joining us today for our first ever Monday Microscope Challenge. We hope to be able to make this a more regular thing on our Facebook channel, especially as we continue to offer mostly virtual programs with our building being temporarily closed. So thank you so much for sharing that with us today, Adam. I'm going to let you get back to the diligent work you need to do to take care of the animals there in the Touch and See lab. Thank you once again, everyone, for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay. We are indeed stopped.
Okay.
I didn't prepare a script for that one, and I think it kind of showed.
Oh, you did great. I actually thought that you did prepare a script.
Oh, no. That's good to know. No, I was kind of just trying to roll with it. No, it was funny when I saw that the right guest came from U of M Morris from the bio department, and I thought it would be a good opportunity to kind of talk about people studying animals. So I appreciate you kind of jumping in with that one because it was very much a question out of left field. But
no, that's totally fine.
And so yeah, I think there were probably it looks like about 20 people watching it any time, and then we'll have people kind of watch it afterwards. So no, I think it went really well, and I like the idea of being able to have these like shorter things, and as long as it's not too cumbersome in your schedule, and we can maybe make it a regular thing where we just kind of pop on for a few minutes and have people give some guesses.
Yeah, no, I think that it works great, and I'm in here doing animal care. Jennifer's in here if you absolutely needed someone, and I also have one of these microscopes at home that I'm borrowing, so. Yeah. If in an emergency, I can throw one up there too. So. Okay.
No, I was pleasantly surprised. As always with some of our live stuff, it's a lot of volunteers and stuff like that. So, but I was happy to see that people were jumping in with some responses. Yeah. Because that was my fear, was that we would just be kind of like you said, crickets. But. All right. Well, thank you so much. Keep it short and sweet, and let you get back to what you need to do.
Yeah. Have a good rest of your day.
You too. Bye.
See ya.